Having a business that's doing well is pretty nice, especially when you're constantly growing, increasing revenue, and working with a team that's as passionate about what you do as you are. But what about the times when things with your team aren't going so smoothly? Maybe you overheard some resentful chit-chat among your employees, or noticed that some of your workers are taking advantage of the policies that you place in good faith, or they're simply being difficult. All of these unpleasantries can come in various shapes. It can be a lack of punctuality, cheating the clocking system, or doing work-unrelated things at the office. All of this can be offensive not only to you, but it may also affect the other honest and hardworking team members. In these kinds of situations, it's your job to take notice, because a good office environment has a huge effect on your employees' work capabilities. Unfortunately, so does a bad one. Therefore, in this video, we'll provide a step-by-step guide on what can be done when dealing with your problematic team members, from finding out why they're being difficult to finally letting them go. Step 1. Observe and evaluate. Have you ever thought about people's tendencies when they're facing a problem? They usually want to jump the gun and get it sorted out straight away. But I would suggest stopping for a breath and pressing pause for a minute. So, you have a difficult employee. He's late almost every morning. When he's not, he spends most of his time on Facebook or Instagram. Suddenly, you have forgotten the actual reason you hired him. But surely, there must have been one. Ask yourself why you wanted this person to work for you in the first place. Was it his skills or attitude? Before taking any actions or decisions, you should evaluate and observe the situation with a clear perspective. The best thing you can do is to collect the facts and identify that exact toxic behavior and disturbance it creates for others. Remember that we're all human and all of us can have a bad day or week. If a normally well-behaved employee suddenly starts acting out, you need to consider there might be some underlying issues that you might not be aware of. Step 2. Record everything. Sometimes the problem will go away by itself. You'll realize that your problematic employee was simply going through some big life changes, and that's the reason why he's been constantly late for the past week. However, you might not be so lucky, and you might have to take measures. This can be difficult if you haven't got the paperwork done from the start. Therefore, it's important to document the incident from the moment it first occurs. What counts as paperwork, you might ask? Everything, starting with informal and formal memos, comments, warnings, and performance appraisals may be needed if at some point you have to let the employee go. So start collecting proof of the issue as soon as you notice any performance issues. But what if you manage a team of hundreds of people? How can you possibly notice one of your employees that has minor performance issues? You can easily resolve this problem by using a time tracking software, like DeskTime. It will automatically record when your employees come and go and how productively they spend their time at work. Step 3. Provide feedback. So now you've identified your one problematic employee. The problem is not going away and you have to fix it. You have records that prove the performance issues and you've reached the point where you actually have to confront them. Otherwise, the situation may get worse. So here's what you do. Invite your difficult employee for a talk. Let the person know why you think there's an issue and give your honest feedback. Make sure you place a focus on the employee's behaviors, not the individual as a person themselves. Meet the employee with an open mind. That is, don't assume that the person has bad intentions and that he's cheating the system on purpose. Keep in mind that your employee's actions may be caused by several reasons, including poor communication between himself and management, lack of training, as well as personal problems. Therefore, be ready to accept that the problem could also lie in management. There's even been research that found that only about half of employees worldwide know what is expected from them at work. That means that half of the employees work without being 100% sure that what they're doing is what's necessary for the company. That's crazy. You should give your employees honest feedback on this performance, but avoid blaming them, as the problem may be on your side. Step 4. Listen like you mean it. Once you've explained to your employee why you think he's having performance problems, it's time to ask questions. What you want to do is dig deeper and figure out the reasons behind your employee's action. The more you understand the underlying characteristics of the behavior, the better chance you have to resolve the situation effectively. Remain calm, positive, and listen to the person without drawing one-sided conclusions about what's happening to the individual. It's important to show the employee that you're listening. Try occasionally summarizing what he says to demonstrate that, and be receptive to everything you hear. Yes, even to the criticism about your company or your duties. This feedback may actually uncover larger company-wide concerns, which is a benefit. Step 5. Set the rules and goals. Once you've identified the reasons behind your employee's misbehavior, you can now work towards setting the rules and goals to improve performance. For instance, in the case of regular lateness, you could present your employee with the company's late policy and discuss the consequences for not complying with it. If your employee is always on time, yet underperforming, you might both agree on additional training. In either case, your task is to provide the necessary support. His task is to improve performance. It's important that the employee under review participates in establishing his performance targets. So ask him what he'd like to achieve and learn, and how he'd like to improve. This will motivate the person and make him feel like he's part of the decision-making process. Step 6. Be consistent. Once you've communicated your concerns to the problematic employee, make sure your actions and words are consistent. That means that you definitely shouldn't be displaying that same disturbing behavior yourself, nor be okay with it in some cases, but not in others. Lead by example. If you tell somebody off for spending too much time on Facebook, but then everyone else in the office has their Facebook page open at all times and you do nothing about it, it might give the wrong impression. Or you don't like that the employees are late for work while you come and go as you please without explaining the reasons behind your absence. You have to understand that if you don't obey the rules, it doesn't show a good example to your team. Thus, you can't expect others to follow the rules if you can't comply with them yourself. Put simply, the employee's task is to improve work performance. Your task is to be a role model. Step 7. Follow up. When you've explained the rules and set the goals, schedule a follow-up with the employee in question to measure improvements. This will help your employee know where he's at. If you see progress, recognize it. If you ask for development and you can see the effort made in accomplishing it, don't forget the acknowledgement. Otherwise, it's way too easy to demotivate a person who has just tried his best to contribute and improve. Find out how the employee is feeling so far and if he's managing his tasks well. Document the improvement and agree on further actions, and offer further help if necessary. Keep in mind that in some cases, like when the issue is low productivity, you can't expect immediate results. You need to give the person time to learn how to prioritize his workload and manage it better. Keep setting tasks for improvement rather than expecting instant success. Either way, keep providing feedback on performance and appreciate improved actions. Step 8. Set an outcome if things don't change. Few months have passed, but your staffer is still showing up late for work despite all your efforts. Now this is the time to give an official warning. The first thing you need to do is not to make a scene out of this. Invite the employee into a meeting room and ask him to sign the warning. This will ensure he understands the consequences, as well as show that you are serious in your actions, not only words. Explain to your employee why you are giving him the warning and make sure that he understands. Let him know that he must improve his behavior immediately and give him a clear deadline for when you see results, or you will be forced to let him go. Step 9. Know when to ask for help. Sometimes the underlying issue for employees' misbehavior can be deeper than your competency levels. Employees may break the rules due to an emergency at home, psychological or even physical problems. In either of those cases, you will require professional help. If your company has an employee assistance program, you can advise your worker to seek assistance there. The program assists employees with personal and work-related problems. If there isn't an employee assistance program within your organization, you might have to look for help inside your community. Either way, the lesson here is, don't try to solve everything by yourself. Sometimes you can do more harm to the employee than help him or her. Step 10. Know when you've reached the end. Firing someone can be the toughest thing a manager or a company owner must do in their career. It's pretty similar to breaking up with someone, unpleasant and maybe even awkward. But once you've reached that point where the relationship is no longer beneficial to one or both parties, it's not worth dragging it out. Make sure you have all your documentation in place so you can show you've done everything correctly. Your documentation is proof that you tried your best to help the person improve. No matter how awkward and unpleasant this step is, you've got to understand. Sometimes it's better to part ways with an employee rather than continue working together. If you won't be courageous enough to cut ties when the time is right, you risk destroying a healthy work environment for yourself and everyone else. And who does that benefit? In conclusion, you need to remember that it's not only your business that suffers from an underperforming worker. It's the other people in the company who can become irritated, demotivated, and lose interest covering up for someone who couldn't care less about being part of the team. So don't let this happen and take action. The first step that you can take when starting to record the productivity of your employees is implementing time tracking in your team. You can start with DeskTime and use the 14-day free trial where you can test everything that the software has to offer and see how it affects the results of your team. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos. Have a great and productive day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye! Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out our other videos. You'll find everything you need to know on office productivity. And while you're at it, subscribe. We put out new videos every Thursday.